This city has a disease. Something festering. Somewhere deep down. Underneath the routine of concrete and steel. Below the predatory grin of the neon lights, an infection has set in. It's like everybody started having the same nightmares. Night after night. I know the dream. The one that makes me wake up drenched in sweat. Heart about to crack open. Scream locked in my throat.
Nobody Wants to Die is a linear, story narrative game developed by a Polish studio Critical Hit Games and published in 2024. The game takes you on a ride in the shoes of a detective who, with his gadgets and deductive skills, turns a simple at first glance accident case into a full-on murder investigation, taking him down a rabbit hole of conspiracy against the elite, all the while fighting his own demons of the past.
Look at a mess. Get your act together. Don't you already know who the murderer is? James? I tried to, you know. Are you there?
This is SaltyKal, and let's dive into that same rabbit hole and see where we will resurface.
I thought you had joined the noble ranks of the dead.
How do you... Who... Where are you?
Why don't we start with where you are?
What happened here?
Well, I have bad news. You're late for the party.
The story takes place in the year of 2329, a world where Bladerunner meets Altered Carbon with a strong dash of 1940s detective noir. In this world, humanity has cracked the code of immortality by developing a technology of transferring consciousness from one body to another. This is a dark and dystopian, almost Orwellian-like world where the rich elite has the privilege of living forever, while the working and poor class citizens from the age of 21 need to pay body subscription, and if they do not keep with their payments, their bodies are repossessed.
Bid on a brand new body at your local government auction house. Give yourself and your loved ones a new lease on life. And don't forget, the body subscription service is mandatory for all citizens 21 and older. So protect your investment. Any lapsed subscription payments will result in your body being submitted to a bailiff auction. And remember, any and all violations will be prosecuted by the Department of Mortality.
You play as James Kara, a suspended detective from a pending investigation riddled with guilt and depression over the loss of both his wife and his partner, drowning in a cocktail of medication and hard alcohol. If all this was not enough, he's also suffering severe side effects of desynchronization with his current body, which places him often one leg through death's door.
Oh, this guy's... Wait for me, we'll get it sorted together.
Snuff?
Who else, genius? The voice of your conscience?
I have one of those.
You can't cover your ass if you do this. Hey!
We just received word of gunshots in Central Park. Crowd is panicking.
His, or our story, that is, begins with an off-the-books assignment for an alleged suicide of an important figure in this world with the simple task of extracting the dead body Zikarite. Since James is not back in the force in an official capacity, he is assigned a police liaison, effectively a babysitter, named Sarah Kai, who will be acting as his handler. The reason being that James has the penchant to overcomplicate simple open and shut cases, believed, due to his detective deduction skills, often to make an elephant out of an ant. Despite the new discoveries at the crime scene and being ordered to shut the case by the police chief himself, James chooses to go the righteous path of getting to the bottom of this whole mess.
Come on, let's go.
Sarah, he's dead.
What? Like,
You mean final death? Dead? Well, just... I mean, fix it.
Sarah, listen. I've seen this before. Up close. Take a few deep breaths. Then we'll start looking for who did it.
What will you discover? Is there a global conspiracy against the elite? Is there really a murderer out there to get the elite and destroy the current way of life? Or is this all a fruit of your imagination and psychosis? There is only one way to find out, and that is to actually experience the story for yourselves, as I don't want to spoil it for you.
The gel's flammable. It may have been a short circuit, or someone could have ignited it deliberately. I need to find the source.
James, don't fucking ignore me.
My first run of the game was about 4.5 hours long, and from possible 3 endings, being the good, the bad, and supposedly the true ending, I believe I got unintentionally, I'd say, the bad ending. If you are someone who enjoys deep dives into a story presented like an onion with multiple layers to peel, this game immerses you into its world narrative, very similar to another game of the same genre, namely Observer, minus the horror elements. If there is a reminiscence of horror elements, they are more like psychological thrills, trying to pull on your morality heartstrings.
So many bodies. I had to get them. What's justice? Bastard kept eluding me.
In my humble opinion, the story was intriguing and kept me going the whole time, wondering what will happen next and what else hides and can be discovered at the next corner or room. At times, the story flow, I have to admit, was going a bit slow for my liking, especially for my character to get the aha, eureka moment. The game tries at times to throw a curveball at me with some big revelation, which, in all fairness, I already had that quiet eureka moment, sometimes making me feel as if it's not me who's supposed to keep up with the game, but the other way around.
Suddenly a shooter appears and takes out our star.
No shit.
James is methodical and taking his sweet time going through all the clues. His character perfectly mimics a detective from the 1940s noir, down to the inner monologues and comments on how corrupt the world is, displaying some personal code he still clings on, all the while throwing sarcastic and jaded jabs at the dark reality he lives in. As a tone, I believe the devs have nailed him quite well.
So I took this job. I'd take any job at that point, even though political cases fester like rust-laced wounds. I was off to hang out with high society, of which I always had a low opinion. Maybe because it consisted mostly of low people.
SaltyKal is trying to be the voice of reason for James's sometimes messy impulsiveness, providing an insight into James's findings and offering at times an angle to look at things, but she's not, in my opinion, well developed. Let me say it like this: James is not Batman and Sarah is not his Oracle. Even her little story of, I don't even remember anymore, was it her girlfriend or was it her sister named Taylor? It failed to have an impact on me, and it felt as a jabbed in last second filler in a desperate attempt to fuel her more. The devs could have done more with her.
And we've got it.
We can start somewhere.
I was hoping for more enthusiasm.
Not gonna happen.
Ouch.
Okay, we still have shit, but we can at least ask 2 questions. First, what's the actual cause of death? Second, who's the culprit and what's his motive?
Are you saying you're getting involved?
I've already changed my mind.
Are you the same with guys?
I won't correct you on everything you just said that was wrong. Besides, I'm looking for more information about the evidence. But seriously, no more jokes.
Maybe they could have turned Sarah into his beacon of hope, a possibility for, like, a new love interest and reason for him to move on with his life. In its state, the character of Sarah mostly is just a voice in James's earpiece to bounce off his thoughts and perceptions and nothing more. If her character was left on the cutting floor, and James, instead of talking with someone about his findings, was debating everything out loud on his own, I believe it would make zero difference. And this, in fact, was something that annoyed me a little. In short, the devs could have utilized Sarah's character a little bit more. And speaking of characters other than James, the game doesn't have many characters for you to interact with. Only until halfway into the game you actually meet physically Sarah, as I was pretty much almost the whole time sure for the rest of the game I will be interacting only with dead bodies and projections, and I'm not counting the hallucinations of James's dead wife.
I saw in your eyes that you stopped believing in me. I let you down. For a moment, I even felt like I cared.
Help me! I don't have the strength anymore.
I'm sorry.
Please, step inside.
The ending was not fulfilling. It felt abrupt, as if the devs have run out of ideas. I didn't like any of the endings. None of them. Not even the one being closest to a happy ending. It kind of felt forced. As if you're in a bar or an establishment and while having a somewhat good time, you're ushered by the staff to get your stuff and be on your way, since they've decided they will close early tonight. Story? 7 out of 10.
Too late! She belongs to me! Salma is innocent! Let her go! Salma knew the darkest secret to this world, and she didn't raise a finger. She did nothing about it. Nothing!
She almost gets you.
I guess you're on her side.
I can tell you that if she got you, she'd have my vote. Broken ribs. You crushed her when you fell on her, and she still didn't give up.
You underestimate me.
This game is made with the main idea of experiencing the universe you have thrust in with its rich story, and that's how it will try to win your heart. Definitely not with revolutionary gaming mechanics. Similar, if not identical, in gameplay to a game I already mentioned here called Observer. Nobody Wants to Die is some people may call it a walking simulator. You end up in different rooms and buildings to find clues and piece them together. Once you're successful in finding all, the story sends you to the next place with clues littered all over, rinse and repeat. This may become stale very quickly for some. Pretty much 90% of the time you will be walking or slow running from one place to another, connecting the dots in between to establish what had happened previously in that same room. You have at your disposal a couple of gadgets, the main one being the Reconstructor, a wrist-mounted device that lets you create something like a time bubble of your surroundings, similar to how Doctor Strange uses his amulet, the Eye of Agamotto, to piece together all that has happened. In order to make use of its functionality and see everything as if you were there, you need to find sufficient amount of clues, whether identifying dead bodies with your camera,
Some bodies were permanently damaged.
investigating and tracing splatters of blood and liquids with your UV lamp, or trace hidden objects and scan the bodies with your X-ray scanner. Similar to LA Noire, you can pick up objects and look at them from every possible angle, with the possibility of finding additional clues on them as well.
To the best of friends, always auspicious winds. Green. That asshole had friends. Hard to believe.
I'm getting a bad hit off this thing.
I wonder which one's the best friend now.
I wonder why a gift from Green is in his own home.
The game itself is established as a linear story game, basically holding you by the hand like a little child, no alternative routes for you to explore to find or accomplish your next objective, no collectibles or data codexes of any kind to get a further feel and information about this world. Once you do your very first investigation with the tools and tracing all the clues, well, congratulations, that's pretty much 90% of what you will do in this game. The game offers choice of dialogue options when you talk with Sarah, ranging from goofy two-shoes to being a jerk. Although, on some of your choices, the game displays a notification in the corner suggesting that choice will be remembered by the game, in reality, majority of them make zero impact on the ending. The game creates this illusion of branching stories, but completely falls flat on its face. Only a couple of the choices impact the actual ending, and those are towards the end of the game. There is no form of combat or shootouts, even despite the fact you have a gun, and those encounters, one or two as they are purely scripted events. Most puzzles are pretty straightforward, they don't present any real challenge or require any special out-of-the-box type of thinking to solve them. I had a couple of cases where I'm supposed to, in that specific part of the Reconstructor time-lapse, to enter a specific bubble to find the next piece of the puzzle, only to be standing there looking and turning my head around like a pigeon on crack with no indication or hint what exactly am I looking for, sometimes even knowing what I'm looking for, but the thing or object of interest itself is being hidden from view or visible only from a specific angle. That was a little annoying for me. Talking about the Reconstructor itself, I can't help but really question its effectiveness. Clearly created as a revolutionary futuristic crime-solving tool for that world, it makes me question how exactly does it work. The mechanic itself of reconstructing investigation scenes to get a visual of what has happened is not a foreign one. In fact, we've seen such before already in a game called Detroit Become Human. But here is what rubs me the wrong way. In Detroit, the character of Connor, a police investigator android, uses this ability to reconstruct the investigated scene, but he's an android. He's a walking quantum computer. Reconstruction on his behalf is based on different surrounding clues and a vast information on the human factor as ways of thinking and action. Therefore, I find it more believable to be able to deduce to a high percentage what exactly or actually might have happened. Still not 100% proof, but that's exactly what A, B, C, and that led to D. But let's look at James. Number one, he's a human being. Number two, unlike in, let's say, Cyberpunk 2077, at least from what I've gathered from this universe, people here don't have implants or any form of cybernetic enhancements, possibly to explain that ability. So, how does it work? Does it work only on special people? If that's the case, what makes them special? What makes James special? What kind of juice does it run on? Earlier in the game, the device stopped working at one point, as based on what James said.
What happened?
Fuses just blew.
What? Why?
The Reconstructor needs massive amounts of energy. Sometimes the limiter doesn't adjust to the environment and pop. Blown fuses.
And then Sarah remotely just recharged it.
There you go.
I wonder what the chief would have to say about that.
Don't thank me, and for fuck's sake, get a move on.
To me, it looks more like an unexplained magic trick rather than a tool being a product of a scientific discovery. And when I made in my head this comparison between the two games' mechanics, at least in Detroit, results of the visualization are shown as a high percentage possibility and still open to debate. And you can trace logically how Connor gets to those conclusions. Again, reminding you, he's a walking computer. It's totally plausible. While in Nobody Wants to Die, this mechanic, and whatever it shows to us, is presented, or more like shoved in our face, as a matter of absolute fact, you can't question it, from a device that is absolutely unclear what is it and how is it, wielded by a simple human with no enhancements, no power, no different than you and me. Sorry, I may sound as if I'm nitpicking here. I have no trouble most of the time to just, close my eyes and just go along with it. Trust me, but at least give me a little bit of modicum of plausibility. If they just, hear me out on this one. If they just said something along the lines of, in this world, this universe, some people in their consciousness have like an extra chromosome or something that makes them unique, like a special mutation of sorts or mental ability to sense things like a psychic. And those devices are made for the police force and can only be used by such people. If a normal person puts that device on, then it's nothing more than an oversized bracelet. If the game gave me at least that as an explanation, I promise you I would have been fine, sure, good enough for me. Maybe you can say the device itself is the Connor computer component to the equation here. I don't know. It never becomes clear. and the game doesn't do a good job at explaining it. I went on too much of a tangent about this thing, I realize it, but if you want to share your opinion, if you agree with me or not, I'd love to know what you think. Share it in the comments below.
You think he deserved what he got?
I do. And it still wasn't enough.
Shit. Sounds like you hated his guts.
Oh, please.
Last but not least, the game works on autosave and doesn't have the function of a manual save. Once I finished my run, and as I mentioned earlier, finished on what I consider to be the bad ending, I had no option to actually go back to a previous chapter to make a different choice. Clicking on the continue game or load my save, it just took me directly to the credits scene. Which means if you want to experience the possibility of a new ending, that means you have to start the whole game from scratch. Sorry, not sorry. I would say no thanks. I'm good. Gameplay 4 out of 10.
It was Kovalev's fingerprint on the murder weapon, huh? I knew it.
Rachel!
I'm not going to mince words. Nobody Wants to Die is gorgeous and beautiful. The world makes me gush every time I look at the city. Don't get me started on the interior of the car, it still makes me a little sad that I wasn't able to drive that baby. It captures the 1940s aesthetic with its cars and the interior of the places that you visit and investigate. Objects are detailed, a lot of work has been put into this game when it comes to the visual department. It's one of those examples of AA titles showing how AAA titles should look like if they are given the proper time to iron out the visuals. When it comes to sound, music is lo-fi jazzy feel with a slight cyberpunk synth, which, funny enough, in all honesty, I kinda tuned out from it most of the time, but in a good way. Because I believe it's because it blended so well with the environment. The voice actors were on point and did a great job at portraying their characters, or at least the very few they were in the game. Specifically, Philip Sacramento, who nailed the necessary zest James needs to really sell the 1940s noir detective gravelly cynical tone. In terms of performance, the game was performing well for the most part. No real complaints from me here. There were occasional dips in the frame rate. I think most noticeable were on the loading screens, but didn't cause me any worries. Presentation 9 out of 10.
I shouldn't be driving like this.
You already know who the murderer is?
How did I?
Hey, doesn't the hero die at the end?
Yes. Glad he's trying.
And when will you cuff me?
You want me to cuff you?
Don't you want to?
The game visually is an absolute treat. The world and aesthetics are amazing. It fully has deserved its praise. And I'm personally a sucker for sci-fi and cyberpunk settings. When it comes to gameplay mechanics, I believe the game has tried to cherry pick from this game and from that game, this and that mechanic, and tried to glue them together in some logical way to add a variety of things to do, so it's not just a walking simulator. Even with that, it's little bare bones in terms of freedom of what to do in this game. You have a story, a well-written and an interesting story in fact, with an iffy ending, but as far as that is concerned, that's just my opinion, don't take my word for it. Presentation and story are the stronger aspect of Nobody Wants to Die. Gameplay-wise is where the devs dropped the ball a little bit, it's where they could have done a little more. Would I recommend this game? If you're a fan of immersive storytelling, rich detailed worlds being the main drive of games such as Observer, in all sincerity, I would recommend it for sure. Price-wise, Not. Full price being at 24.99 euros or about $30. It's not really a good bargain. Right now Steam having a summer sale till July 10th, dropping the price from 24.99 to 9.99 euros and about that much in dollars too. Then I would say yes, that's an okay price for what you get. As a whole, I'm happy with the game. So that makes it final verdict 7 out of 10. Thank you all for watching. This is SaltyKal, signing off.
Okay, James. I'm no expert, but the universe seems to be telling you to go home.
You believe in science?
I believe it's 2 a.m. and I'm getting sick of you.
Wait. We still have to talk about the investigation. There are a few things that bother me.
Well, keep it short.